Welcome back to Man the Helm podcast. Today is a slight change up from the normal format. Mike is not with us today, but I have a special guest, returning guest actually, Mr. Brian Wampler. How's it going, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Well, the main reason, and other than, besides picking your brain and, talking to you face to face, I've
Sure.
had your other cohorts on here twice, so I figured I needed to kind of even it out a little bit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you were back in, it was last December, I believe, was the last time you were on.
Of
Oh,
22?
no, 23, right at the beginning of
Okay.
23.
Was it? Okay. It's it's been so chaotic that seems like years ago.
I know, right? I was just thinking that. I was like, man, when was, and I went back and scrolled through the feed and I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. That seems like a decade ago. But a lot has happened, man. That's a lot has
Yeah.
happened in this last year, especially with you guys, a couple different pedal releases and a pedal course, So let's just kind of like dive into what this
Sure.
year's kind of been about with you, man.
Sure. Where do I start though? That's the
Yeah,
question.
that's a
Where
good
where
question.
where do you want me to start? I literally don't even remember what we released last year before the Germanium Tumnus.
Yeah, oh well,
Uh
that's fair. I know that's been a little
it's
bit of a debacle.
it's been such a blur too,
Yeah,
just like remembering. So the way things work with me, like as we release stuff, that may be something I designed 9 months or a year
yeah,
ago,
for sure.
so it's like I've moved on a year down the road, and then it comes out, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I forgot we were even releasing this.
Well, I'm trying to remember if I might be 100% wrong on this, but I want to say, was it maybe, oh, I don't know, maybe the
Let's see.
metaverse.
Let me see if I can. You know what's going to help me? I should visit my website.
Oh, there we go.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, for sure.
because I'm like, was it Metaverse? No, was it Moxie? Maybe, but I know we did Corey Wong stuff. Was that
Yeah,
last year?
yeah.
Wow, that seems like forever ago too. So hold on, I'm being asked if I want to join my own newsletter. No, 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 I'm good with that.
Well,
Um,
I'm sure there's some valuable information in there that you would put out to yourself. You know what I mean?
yeah, I might want to hear for myself. So you never
Yeah.
know. So let's see. So yeah, we had the Corey Wong
hmm
compressor and boost and all that stuff. And did we do Ratsbane or
See, that's where I'm getting confused because I want to say it was metaverse, but I think I'm wrong with that.
maybe it was Metaverse? Maybe I'm trying to think. My computer's decided it does not want to work with me right now.
Well, it's completely okay. We can
Uh,
let's
oh,
talk.
you know what? I know what it was. Black 65 and Tweed 57.
There you
That's
go.
right. We did that. Yeah, we did that.
Yep.
I think we did the Phenom,
Yeah, I was gonna
the
say
Triumph.
Phenom and the Triumph.
Yep. I knew there were some releases. I was drawing a blank. It's been too long ago. Um, I think that's the majority of it. And the, Germanium Tumnuses, which, obviously made a lot of people mad.
Well, uh, I'm still kind of confused about that because I mean, you guys were extremely transparent with how you were releasing that. It's a limited run. Once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, and it
You
wasn't
know?
because we're like, you know what? We're going to make this limited. That way we can cash in. It wasn't that sort of thing at all.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. I mean, it was one of those things that, not to make anybody else even more mad, but if you found out about it and you saw it, you ordered it, you got it. And once they're gone, they're gone. You guys had them priced extremely reasonably, if I remember correctly, like what, a 189, something like that.
179 and 180. Yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, it was
Somewhere,
normal, higher end pedal price.
sure,
So, I mean,
but
it wasn't Joyo prices or
well,
whatever.
of course not.
Different type of brand. So,
Absolutely.
um,
But what I think most people were upset about was stuff that is completely out of yours and Wampler as a whole's control, are people getting it and trying to turn a profit on it because they know it's a
yeah,
limited run.
right.
I
And we
think it,
also sold out in about an hour too,
yeah.
which
Well,
was crazy, going through what was it, 2,500 or something stupid,
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I had placed the order and then I saw Richard had posted a thing about we're sold out and I was like, "Oh, hey, did I happen to make the cut? And he's like, dude, I don't even know yet. I have no clue. Nothing's working for us right now. Our email is just crashed. Everything is good. Just it's insane right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, cool, whatever. I got a confirmation number. He's like, well, if you got that, then you got it. I'm like, okay, cool, we're good. I will say that is a killer combination, man, with the normal tumnus and the bell. Those three together. Whoo, man. Awesome,
Well,
awesome,
thanks,
awesome.
man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I've heard
Ab-
some people say that we should smash the Latumnus and the bell together into one pedal.
I am one of those people.
Really?
I am one of those people. It was one of those situations. I was playing with a band. We haven't really been like gigging, but just kind of rehearsing together. And we just did this quick little jam. And the tumnus was kind of like my edge of breakup ish. Or no, I'm sorry. The bell was kind of like my edge of breakup ish tone. When I kicked the tumnus on, everybody that we were playing with just kind of did one of these. Like, wow, that sounds so good.
Was
And
it
I
like
was,
wow, or was it like please turn it off? Because
well,
both those looks can be construed to be the same
that
thing.
is very true. But I think it was a wow, that sounds really good.
That's the
I
way that's what I'll choose to believe
That's
anyways.
that 100% what I'm choosing to believe. I can't speak for the playing, but the tone was there for sure, man. So no, I definitely think that's something you guys should do, but I mean that's just me saying that. Obviously, I know other people have said that to you as well, but maybe, a couple years down the line that would be a cool kind of combo
Yeah.
pedal together.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really dig them. But aside from all the pedal releases too, you put out a new course.
Two of them, yeah. Two
Yeah,
courses
too.
and working on the third.
Nice.
So, I mean, so it's like very beginner course.
Yeah.
Like the basics of guitar pedal stuff. And then a little bit more like intermediate level, which is like, all right, I have all these pedals, mostly pertaining to like dirt stuff and compression. Like, how do I stack them together to get a variety of tones? Because like you found out, even with the bell and the tumnus, if you have the tumnus before the bell, it
Yep.
sounds completely different than the bell before the tumnus. Two
Yeah.
totally different things.
Mhm.
So it's like trying to help people understand, well, here's how you kind of discern, you figure out what you want, and then you have these pedals in front of you. And then you kind of like, okay, so I need pedal A to go in front of pedal B to give me, X type of tone, right?
Yeah. At least a
So
good baseline to go off of.
yeah.
That's I went through about probably I got about 2 or 3 more videos I think to watch, so I'm about 99% through everything. And that was really the common trend with everything. It's like this will achieve this-ish sort of tone. This is a
Mhm.
good baseline for you to start from to get X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Along with like you hear these videos, you watch people on YouTube and stuff like this, and it's like, oh, well, this is what compression does to your sound. This is what this pedal will do to your sound. This is what this will do to your sound. And it's like, well, maybe with that particular rig in that particular order,
Right.
absolutely. But the way that you kind of just like generalized everything was really helpful, even for somebody like myself that's been playing for almost 2 decades. Still learning information off of the basic level course. I really, really enjoyed that.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks,
Yeah,
man. I mean, I try to put like little things in there that even if you aren't a complete beginner, you might find a nugget.
absolutely. Yeah.
And hopefully that nugget is good enough to make it worth the $20 for the course or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not really even like the little nuggets and stuff. It's always great, especially for musicians, to kind of get outside of their bubble and think about stuff slightly differently than they normally would.
Good point.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yeah, I mean, I have my typical pedal order that I always run just because that's what I've always done.
Mm,
But then after watching that, it's like, well, if I did this, this, and this, now the gears start turning in my head like, whoa, I could have
yeah.
a variety of tones now,
Right.
opposed to just the normal stuff that I'm used to running,
Yep.
you know. So it's really beneficial in that aspect for me. Kind of like thinking about it from more of a tone chasing, no pun intended, but like
Mm,
figuring out different ways to achieve a multitude of sounds off of a single couple, well, maybe like a small board with, 3 or 4 overdrives on it. You know what I mean?
right. Yep.
So it was pretty cool, man. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, I always look at things like that, especially when it comes to course stuff. like songwriting courses, for example.
Hmm.
Now, many of us have written songs for years and years and years, but I might take a songwriting course just because it's a different type of person.
Right.
And there'll be something in there that I'm like, that gives me an idea. And
Yeah.
that's worth it.
Yeah.
To me,
Well,
that little tiny little thing is worth it.
yeah. Well, and I think if I remember correctly, last time we spoke, you were talking about stuff as far as like I can't remember the context of it, but pretty much it was like if you were to talk about teaching lessons or doing YouTube or doing stuff like that, it's like, yeah, there's thousands, tens of thousands of people that are doing the exact same thing as you, but it's not you doing it. It was something to that effect. Like you
Hmm,
just said, you're
right.
adding that little nugget that's going to help people go in that direction. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whatever you decide to say, however you say it, is just going to help them out just that much more, and it's going to
Right.
kind of click with them.
Right. It's not really about telling someone, hey, you could run pedals together. Or
Right.
like,
Right.
no kidding.
Yeah.
But let's dive down into the whats and the whys and the hows and the what fors, and that's where there's some insight to be gained, just
Absolutely.
if nothing else, just a different paradigm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really what I gathered most of it. It was just really a different perspective is
Hmm.
what I was getting. So it was really awesome. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see the upcoming courses because you're going to kind of continue along
Yeah, the next
this with
thing
it.
is very much more of a DIY course, which
Very
everyone's been asking me
nice.
for. Yeah, so
Well,
it's like, and this one's going to be because yeah, it could very easily be like a 50-hour course.
oh sure. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so let's dig down to like the nuts and bolts. So let's start with like overdrives.
Hmm.
We're gonna teach the basic building blocks of like gain stages, so like transistors, FETs, MOSFETs, op amps, that sort of thing. And then we're gonna like, okay, let's now create some basic overdrive circuits. Now let's look at some EQ circuits and so on and so forth. And then at the end is gonna be, okay, now let's look at these like Legos, like
Yep.
building blocks. Now what happens if we use building block gain stage A with building block tone control C?
Hmm.
What happens? And let's smash those together and create something new rather than regurgitating another tube screamer or clone. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And see, for someone like myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people too, that is so beneficial because I know the words that you're saying. I just don't know what they actually mean.
I understand. Yeah, you
You
understand the
know?
gist. But
Yeah.
if I'm like, well, the emitter resistor right there, you're like, the who?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna nod my head, just give you the north south and say, okay, sounds good. Well, because a lot of people that play guitar, use guitar pedals, aren't into the nitty-gritty aspect of the building of
Yeah,
said pedals. There's a few people that will be into like, different components and what they do and how they affect your tone, but they're not physically building
right.
the actual pedal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's just another one of those things. Like being a musician, I've always thought about, if you're gonna go play and you're gonna, even if you're doing it with just a small band or just doing cover stuff, you need to kind of always update that skill set that you have. And one of those things could be just something as simple as building a basic boost or overdrive. I
Hmm.
mean, it might not be beneficial to you in right now, but you never know when that something like that could be beneficial. It's just adding to what you already know.
Right. And if nothing else, I mean, if you like a combination of things that are artistic and technical, like
Absolutely.
as I'm doing this, I'm really focused on like I'm talking to guitar players,
Yep.
not engineers, right?
Hmm.
So there's going to be a lot of things where I'm like, all right, this is going to have a higher output impedance. You don't need to know about that. You don't care. Don't worry about it.
Hmm.
Just understand that it's when you add this type of tone control after that, it's going to be a little funky.
Right.
So I'm very much kind of dumbing it down into non-engineer speak, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's all kinds of great books and long length courses for engineers about just transistor amplification stages, right?
For
So
sure.
it's like we're talking about let's make something fun that sounds cool and is fun to put together,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, and I don't think necessarily, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, something basic like that is not technically hard.
No,
It's
it's pretty basic in electronic stuff.
right. It's just I feel like there's so much information, it's hard for people to kinda get into it because they don't know where to
Yeah.
start at, you
Yeah.
know? And that's intimidating to a lot of people,
Right.
you know?
Well, it's really like pieced out in various places all over the internet, right?
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, there's not really like there's not really a good place for a person who isn't, in the middle of getting an engineering degree to
Yeah.
say, I just want to learn how to how a basic pedal works,
Mhm.
and I don't want to do math. I'm not pulling out a calculator. Just give me the basic gist of what I need to do to, assemble something myself. Or if I buy a kit, what can I change on it to make it sound different?
Yeah, yeah.
So
One of my favorite things was, if you get into some of the older, not really older, I guess they are, but some of the older Boss pedals, you know what I mean? And just finding out small little things that you can take away or add and kind of tinker around with that. That's kind of how I'm been kind of dipping my toes in the water here
yeah,
lately,
that's a great place.
you know, because everything's already consolidated. I don't really have to build anything. I'm
Right.
just taking and giving, you
Right.
know, parts and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
really it.
And at the risk of this sounding like a sales like a sales thing, I mean, after this course, a person will be able to do that. You'll be able to look at a schematic and say, "Oh, I recognize this component block, and I know that that capacitor will give me more bass."
Yeah,
So all I gotta do is change that capacitor to a bigger capacitor and get more bass,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's really kind of what I'm going for. Cause I mean, I started out the same way where I had a Boss pedal and I'm like, I wonder what happens if I pull this diode out. Oh, that made it a lot brighter. Okay, that's weird. I wonder why that happened.
Well, and I don't envy you at all because I mean, at that point in time, I mean, there were maybe what, a handful of forums that were
There is basically DIY stomp boxes and the
okay.
ampage.org, so
Yeah.
and that was really the gist of the DIY scene. It was pretty small,
Yeah.
but growing. I mean, and this was, I'm trying to think. This was back before JHS and Earthquake. Like we were all people in this forum
Mhm.
learning, at
Yeah.
that time. So we all, and that's probably why we're all good friends today. Is like we all kind of grew up together in DIY school, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You came up
uh,
in the scene, man.
we were all asking the same questions to,
Yeah.
the really bright people, like people that should, when we all feel like they should be known, but they probably won't be known as, like, internet youth influencers or whatever, because they're just not that type of people like RG Keen or Jack Orman, which if you're into pedals, you're like, yeah, they're monsters,
Mhm.
legends. But to the average guitar player, you have no idea who it is.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know that basically everything you're playing has been influenced by these people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that's kinda how that's kinda how, like, just music in general. I mean, that's kinda how all of that goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, you're
Yeah.
just kind of adding your kind of twist to whatever it is that you're doing. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because I crack up every time I hear you say it when people start nerding out about, you know, well, this tube screamer and this tube screamer don't sound anything alike, and you're just sitting there just like, look, man, I can look at the schematic and see it's like the exact
Right.
same thing.
Well, and it's not that I'm calling them a liar, it's
No,
that
no, no.
the reasoning behind it's different. It's like,
Mhm.
well, yes, it's analog parts, which all have a tolerance.
Yes,
It's not that the TS-808 is twice as good as the TS-9. That's
sure.
not it. It's just that that one that pot read 90K and the other one that read 110K, and a resistor that controlled high pass filtering was actually, 900 ohms, and the other one was, 1100. There's all these little tolerances that add up, and that means pedal 1 sounds different than pedal 2,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And it's not based on like magic. So there is no magic op amp chip or magic transistor or anything like that, you know?
yeah.
We like to believe it. We like to
Well,
believe that our cables are directional.
yeah.
We like to believe that there's spray that we could put on the ends of our cables for better sound, you know? and that's good for financial extraction.
Oh,
For sure.
sure, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in guitar players especially, I mean, we don't play with our ears, we play with our eyes, it seems like most of the time. So it's just, you want the newest, coolest thing, and if you see somebody that you respect and like on the internet, it's going to be better than its counterpart.
Right.
That
And
that's
I get it. I mean, I follow this. I go into the same. I have the same problems. I guess I should say. So I'll see. I don't know how many times I've watched like Andy or Andy Martin or even Josh JHS demo something. I'm like, man, that sounds great. I need to get one.
Mhm.
And then I get, I'm like, oh, I should let this is just kind of tube screaming. I know what they're doing now that I have it on my amp and
Yeah.
with my guitar. But they just for whatever reason, whenever they were playing it, it made me push that buy button.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of the point of their content
Right.
for that sort of
Right.
an video. They're making it sound as best their ability, and they're all, everybody that's doing that sort of thing are just, top tier players as far in their own right. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like, they're, you know, top tier session guys or anything, but they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
And sponsored videos like that, and you can tell the guys and girls that maybe get something sent to them that they really love, and you can tell the guys and girls that get something they're just like, it's okay. Now, most people I will say that I do watch, they won't do a video on something they're not
Yeah.
happy with, just because they
Yep.
want to be genuine, they want to be honest, they want to add value back to their community that they're, showing
Mhm.
off this piece of gear. But I know it does happen. I've seen a handful of
Yeah, it
videos,
does.
where
It does. I mean, and that's a big reason. That's part of a big reason of why whenever a person watches demos, you're not going to see a lot of demos where someone says, "This thing is an absolute turd.
yeah,
Don't buy it."
yeah,
You know? Because I mean, for the reasons you said, and also at the end of the day, what are you putting out in the world? You
right,
know? I mean, you wanna have fun and help others and like it's all a hobby and it's all part of the creative aspect of being a musician, right? And for
absolutely,
some of us, this is how we get our music out to the world.
yeah,
Is we make
yeah,
videos
yeah,
and the music's in the background of the videos.
yep, oh, absolutely. I mean, it beats putting it on, any sort of streaming services and nobody ever hearing it, you know what I mean?
Right.
The likelihood of people hearing it online is not much higher, but, market yourself a little better and or a little more, you never know what can happen,
Right.
especially on YouTube.
Right.
You
Yep.
know, I thought it was hilarious, this year I'm gonna be really pushing hard on YouTube and stuff, and I had some stupid video that just blew up out of nowhere for I was handing off the honey picks, um, Halloween picks or whatever to my kids
Uh-huh.
when they were at the door, and somehow that short just skyrocketed for some reason. I have no idea. Maybe the algorithm just picked it up or whatever, but I'm sitting here like, man, I really wish the video that I just spent like, a day and a half on would kind of
Mhm.
do that well. It's good.
It's weird. It always seems like it always happens the way
It
that way,
does.
where
It
if
does.
the thing you plan and you like meticulously are editing and like we went to great lengths to make this great video, and it just trickles in views. And the
Yeah,
thing you just like whip out your phone and record real quick. You're like, how did that get 30,000 views? I
absolutely.
literally just did that off the cuff.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think it was similar to some of those TikToks that you had put out a while back with like
Yeah.
the Countryfied Van Halen and stuff. One is just exploding through the roof, and the other one's just like,
Yeah.
you know
It's
what I
so
mean? It's
weird.
so weird, man.
It is, and those things, I mean, I do them whenever I have time now,
Sure.
but they take so long to do. Like,
Yeah.
that's like 4 almost a week of base basically dissecting it, so you have all the tracks, and then you're like, "Alright, so we need to turn this Smashing Pumpkins song into a country song.
Yeah.
How do we do that?"
Yeah.
So you're, like, programming drums and playing parts, and it's a huge thing for a 20-second TikTok,
Right.
that
Yeah.
I mean, it's a minute long TikTok or whatever, but people are gonna watch 20 seconds of it,
For sure.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's kind of funny though because I don't know. I've done this new thing about, trying not to pay attention to not 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 pay attention. That was a lot of knots, but um just not paying attention until, I check my phone once a day now as far as notifications or stuff like that because I was talking to a friend of mine that's doing actually relatively well now, and that's one of the things that he's just doing. He's just on his phone constantly. Like, dude, you have got to stop. Just
It's
put out.
hard.
Yeah, it is. But I'm telling you right now, when I spend more time working and less time checking notifications or doing whatever, I feel a lot better about the content that I'm putting out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, there's nobody. I'm doing what I want to do. You know, people like yourself are doing what you want to do. You know,
Yeah.
obviously you're in a different situation than myself or someone on YouTube, but not really at the same time. But
Still the same sort of thing though. I
it's
mean,
still the same sort of thing.
it's this balance between you want people to like what you're doing,
Absolutely.
but not to the point where you're only doing it to make someone else happy and you're
Yes.
getting no satisfaction from it too.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so like
Because
there's this weird balance because it's easy to fall in this trap of, oh, they love it. I need to make more so I get this dopamine rush
for
and
sure.
I feel good about myself now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like that's an easy trap to fall into, especially as you're putting out YouTube videos and you're watching the comments come in. And now you want another one that hits like that. So like,
Yep.
okay, what was the mathematical formula I used? I need to follow the exact same thing. And when if that one doesn't do well, then you're like, what did I do wrong? My life has no meaning now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I was talking to my friend about is just like, dude, just do what you want to do. Yeah, I mean, he's small enough too now where I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it really doesn't matter what he puts out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's
Yep.
not he's not chasing anything yet or trying to get to that next, higher tier from where he's at. He's just starting out for the
Sure.
most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that like now is the time for you just to throw rice at the wall and just see what sticks, man.
Yeah.
You have no repercussions if something fails right now, you know? So that's
Very
that's
true.
kind of the way that I've kind of thought about it, especially now. It's just like, man, I'm just gonna do what I want and just call it good. I'm
Mhm.
gonna I'm gonna stop sitting looking at how to make your YouTube channel grow this amount in 30 days or what. Like, dude, it's the same thing as talking about, how this guitar pedal is gonna go into your amplifier. It depends on so many variables,
Right.
you know.
And some of that's just damn luck,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah, yeah. Well, luck and consistency, I would
Right.
say. You know
Right. I
what I
mean,
mean?
yeah, I mean, a lot of they say luck is, part of preparation, right? So, I mean,
Sure.
there's some of that, but at the same there's also even I guess I'm thinking like pedal releases. Sometimes you just put out something and for whatever reason, people respond to it.
Yeah.
Like for example, that Germanium Tumnus. I knew it was going to be popular. I had no idea it was going to go like that.
Right.
I mean, I thought it would be the sort of thing where everybody would have a chance. We probably wouldn't sell out of them, but it would probably do fairly well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the idea that there was a large group of people that were angry because they could not get it. I had not experienced that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny too on like the polar opposite of that when you guys released the Black 65 and the Tweed
Mhm,
57, you know, the, I remember hearing about that release and I think it was you, Richard, and Blake when you were on Chasing Tone were like, well, you guys better hurry up because we are selling out of them, which I'm sure you were at the time, but now that's kind of like tapered off, leveled
mhm.
out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it did. And so it was about the right amount, I think,
Yeah.
because I think we just sold out. I don't know if we sold out of them both, but I think we just sold the last one of either the black or the tweed. I forget.
Well, yeah, but
So,
it's
which is kind of what I want. Like I didn't want it to
exactly
be an ongoing thing.
for
I
sure.
wanted everyone that wanted one to get one and not have to pay $400 or whatever for a used one. So, and that's really what I was going for.
Yeah.
It's just let's kill this used market a little bit and get
It
something reasonable,
it
with a
was
warranty, you
Yeah,
know.
with the warranty for sure, because it was getting a little like little crazy
Yeah.
at in certain markets, not nothing you could still find them relatively, at good prices, but there were a
Mhm.
handful that were still crazy expensive. Kind
Yeah.
of like that kind of like that DIY book you put out years
Yes,
ago, you know
did
what
the
I mean?
same thing. Yeah, it was selling for the used book was selling for like $1,000 or something
Yeah.
stupid. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm like, look, I literally can just turn a button on Amazon and sell it back at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Mhm.
'Cause I'm like, don't ever pay $1,000 for that book. For one, it's pretty outdated. I
Yeah.
mean, not completely, but I mean, some of
Well,
those pedals they don't even make anymore.
right.
And my knowledge base has grown so much more than it did back in 2005 or
Yeah.
whenever I wrote that, you know? So I'm like, just I'll have something better coming. Just
Yeah.
hang tight.
Well, and I also like to like the way you guys run Wampler too. You guys were extremely transparent with people that were upset. You let everybody know that, hey, we're going to do this, a deluxe version of the Germanium Tumnus, and you guys laid it all out there. There's no guesswork on what's going to happen with that pedal. Obviously, nobody knows the exact date that you're going to put that out,
We
but
don't. Yeah, we
exactly,
don't
that's
right
what
now.
I'm
So
saying.
yeah.
So, I really appreciated that from you guys as well. Just complete transparency. This is what happened. This is what we're doing. Just so you guys have a heads up. Anybody that was on the pre-order list, you guys are first in line, or sort of
Yeah.
that aspect. You know what I mean?
There's
So,
still a degree of people that's, and it's a small percentage, but there's still a percentage of people that were still so mad that, I mean, I have so many emails I can't get to them. And some of those are just people saying, "I'll never buy your stuff again because you wronged me."
yeah,
And what can you do? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm sorry,
right.
but I don't know what to tell you. It was not intentional. I did not do this to hurt you. You know,
No, no, and I think it's just one of those things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the stuff that you guys put out. I own way too many Wampler pedals. I'll be the first one to admit it.
me too.
I know, yeah. But, and I definitely wanted a Germanium Tumnus. I was lucky enough to be one of the first, or at least make the cut for that first batch. But if I wouldn't have gotten it, okay, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
I'd have been a little disappointed, but
Mhm.
not to the point of like, you know what? Give my cell phone. Brian Wampler, you're a horrible person, and I'm never buying anything. I'm taking all your stuff and throw it in the trash that I got. Like, come on, man.
I had that email. I've had those email, and I shake my head going, these. This is like getting mad at someone because you can't find your favorite hammer at Lowe's.
Thank you. That's what I was just about to say. It you're getting mad at about a tool and or toy that guitar players use that you were not allowed to get. It reminds me of, and I don't mean any disrespect towards anybody, but I have younger children not getting their way. That's what it
Yeah,
reminds me of,
it can be very similar to that. Yeah.
you know.
At the end of the day, it's like I look at it as, like you said, it's a tool to make something cool.
Yeah.
Whether that's just sitting at home and having fun playing music by yourself, or writing and recording music and putting it out there, like whatever your thing is.
Mhm.
But it's just a fun thing to mess with, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean it has the cool factor being limited edition, it has the cool factor for a different paint style, but I don't know. I still just don't understand it. I remember kind of watching in awe on, some of the different forums and stuff like that. And I really did appreciate, I think it was Ryan Burke on the 60 Cycle Hum podcast that was talking about this. And he's like, if you guys don't want to pay these outrageous prices, stop buying them from these
Yeah,
scalpers.
just stop buying it. The prices
Like,
will go down.
yeah. I mean,
Yep.
the only reason why these prices are so high from these people that are trying to flip these is because you guys are buying them at
Yeah.
$500-600 a pop or whatever they were going
Right.
for. You know,
Yep.
it's the same thing as that stupid Bad Monkey debacle that happened.
Exactly the same thing.
you know? So
Yeah.
it just blows me away sometimes about guitar players. I love guitar players in my heart, I truly do. But sometimes, man, there's people that I just cannot deal with, man. It's crazy. Insanity.
Oh, I can understand where you're
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah. So, new year, you guys, I know you've got probably like 17 things in the shoot right now.
Tons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I need to do a better job on focusing on one at a time,
I was
you
going to
know?
ask you, how
Yeah.
hard is that? Because I know, based on our last conversation we had, I mean, I know you have multiple projects going on simultaneously, which you have to. I understand that.
Mhm.
But how hard is it to kind of like, do you ever have to stop yourself and kind of prioritize what you need to
All
do?
the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm distracted by shiny stuff just as
Right.
bad as everybody else, but my shiny stuff is like, "Ooh, That's it. You know, like if I'm making a circuit, like this
Mhm.
happened the other day actually. So I'm I'm doing this. I'm making the circuits for this DIY video, and I stumbled on this way to make like a simple boost into a compressor.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I haven't thought about doing that before, doing it that way before. And so then I like go off in a different direction. Well, what if I wanted to release? What if I wanted these parameters on it? What if and by the time I spent like a day doing this, I'm like, I literally wasted a day just going through the what ifs.
Yeah.
What if I did this to it? What if I did? I'm not going to do anything with it. It was just more like fun. And I got distracted by a shiny object and lost
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah. Almost like daydreaming in your when you're in school, you know what I mean?
A lot like that.
You
Yeah.
know?
So, I mean, it happens to all of us. And I just need to do a better job of like, okay, that is for some Sunday afternoon when nothing's going on. I
Right.
have to finish the thing I'm working on,
Mhm.
so, and it's no one's fault but my own just for being, ADHD and probably fairly autistic.
Well, to be fair though, I mean, that's part of what makes you you and the stuff that you make. I mean, you know, gotta
Yeah.
take with the good with the bad a little bit. Sometimes you're gonna go off the rails a little bit, and that's completely fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just all a part of it, and at the end of the day, like, it's gotta be fun,
Yeah.
or else it's just another job,
Yeah.
you know? And so I really like I try to make there are parts of it that suck just like any other job. Like, who wants to stare at spreadsheets? Well, some do, not me, but it's part of the job.
Yeah.
And so, like, at the end of the day, I want it to be fun. I want it to be something that a year down the road I can look back and be proud of and feel like that I at least gave some little tiny piece of happiness to the world,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, not to go off too, far off on a tangent, but, the gearbox is still my go-to for everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Like,
I like that one a lot too,
I
man.
I cannot it has to be on my board. The second I take it off, it's just like, ugh, I don't like anything else. I'm telling you, man, you and Andy knocked it out of the park with
A
that
lot of
pedal.
that was really Andy going, "Hey, let's tweak this little thing with the when the
Sure.
treble knob is here, I want to cut it
Mhm.
a certain way." So like he was kind of explaining tonality wise what his vision was of it. And it came out really well. It came
Yeah.
out really well.
Yeah.
So that's another great one that I use a lot myself. What
Yeah.
amp are you running it through?
Right now I have a stereo rig that I'm running a Black Star Club 40 and I can't remember the 212 bass breaker. Um, I think the 60 Fender bass breaker 60.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
kind of get the darker side with the Black Star and the more Fendery ish,
Hmm.
side with that um,
Yep.
bass breaker. And it works really well.
So clean channel on both,
Clean
right?
channel on both. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I mean, where's oh, it's not out because I was practicing last night with the band, so I still have all my stuff packed up. But no, so the main rig that I have is really based off of the HX Stomp XL. That's where
Okay.
a lot of stuff is coming from, as far as different amp models that I can kind of tweak a little bit. I have like a Voxy sort of thing, I have a Marshally sort of thing, a Fender sort of thing, but they're both running into those amps and also doing their own thing. So it's kind of like a tone stack for amps, maybe,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
And it's still kind of work in progress. I'm not very familiar with the HX Stomp still. I will say though, I'm programming it right now, or I was last night, the Metaverse and Terraform via MIDI with the HX Stomp.
Hmm.
So now all of those delays and mods and stuff like that I have in the HX Stomp are now just added bonuses with the Terraform and the Metaverse.
So you're controlling it with the XL stomp as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
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 what I'm attempting to do. I've got a handful that are working, but MIDI for some reason still throws me for a loop.
it's something that I've never used much myself either.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a I like to color with crayons sort of
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. No, I
And so
get it.
like I understand I know that some people are the complete polar opposite where they want whenever you hit patch A, it turns on all these 5 different things, right?
Mhm.
I'm much more of a, "No, I want to press that pedal, and I wanna turn that knob myself,"
Yeah, yeah.
you know? And it's probably just because 'cause I'm an old fart, but
Well, no, I think it for me, it depends on the circumstance, right? Because I was when I got that stuff, I was still gigging a lot of doing a lot of cover band stuff. So that stomp, the HX stomp was just more to help out with I
that's a
don't
good point.
have a Vox style amp. I don't have a Marshall style amp. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
have the amp sims in here that I can tweak and make them sound pretty close to the real thing. And if worst case scenario, I can send that to front of house. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's more of a convenient factor than anything else, you
Yep.
know. Um, I will say though that Les Paul that you know and love that I have
Yeah. Yeah.
is getting kind of it's about to have to get an overhaul. Some I we just got a puppy and he came in the room here and it was my fault because I was sitting it was sitting not sitting in the rack and now there's about a 2-inch gash on the back of the neck.
Oh,
Didn't
no.
break. Didn't break. Everything's fine.
That's
But
such a terrible feeling too. Oh,
yeah.
man.
Well, it's we're gonna find the silver lining here. I've been looking for an excuse because I've been telling myself I'm not gonna do it on the off chance that I ever trade it or sell it. I wanted to sand the back of that neck down for so long. And now I have my excuse,
Now you
you
have a
know?
good reason.
So now silver lining, you know what I mean? We're gonna find the silver lining out of all of this. No, but it's a cool rig. It's not as complicated as I'm sure I made it sound, or maybe not. I don't know. It
But
just
and
is
that makes
simple.
sense to me also. I mean, because I don't do a lot of gigs. You do way more gigging than I
Mhm.
do. You know, I'm much more of a recording into Logic sort
Right.
of position. And I gig maybe 4 times a year, you
Mhm.
know? And when I do, it's like, I need 3 tones,
Right.
you know? I need
Right.
classic country, modern country, and classic rock,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that was a big issue because you know I got the set list one night when we were playing with this band, and I mean we were doing everything from you know late 50s, early 60s classic rock all the way up to modern alternative.
Wow,
It's
that's a
like,
huge variety of tones.
ah, well, good thing I got the HX Stomp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going from, uh, I don't know, like a John Cougar Mellencamp song to a Avenged Sevenfold song all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like something
Yeah.
stupid like that. I don't think it was ever that extreme, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah, I do.
you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of talked to everybody that we play with now, and I was just like, hey, whenever we go play, let's have like an 80s set. Let's have like a 70s set. Let's have a more modern set. You know, that way
Right.
we don't have these dramatic shifts in decades, you
Mhm.
know, which most people don't really mind, but it's kind of inconvenient to go from playing something, especially if it's very articulate, something that's really, hybrid picked or chicken picked or something like that for some country stuff, to all of a sudden now I have to attempt to sweet pick. You know what I mean? So it's just
I can only imagine. I can't do it, but
yeah. Well, your chicken picking man has really come along. I really like it's funny to kind of follow people for a little while. You've gotten significantly better at playing guitar.
really?
Yeah, dude. Like, and
Oh,
I don't
thank
mean
you.
that in a bad way. I'm not saying you were bad
You
before at all.
you sucked for a
I
while.
no, no,
Holy
no,
cow.
no. It's just like maybe it's just because I'm paying more attention. But yeah, dude, you've been
Well, thanks,
getting
man.
awesome.
I spent there was a period of time where I'm like, you know what? I actually just I need to have a practice routine.
Yeah.
You know, because there's been so many years that I played guitar whenever I was designing circuits, when I was
Hmm.
breadboarding a circuit. And so like I was really good at A's, G's, and D chords,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one pentatonic lick. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I really need to sit down and like practice with a metro. Oh, I use a drum beat, but practice with a drum beat and really just practice phrasing, practice playing in time, like all that sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
think that really helped me, I think, sound better, you
Yeah.
know, because I don't know. I feel like I feel more accurate, and and whenever I record, I don't have to re-record my stuff so much
Yeah.
because I play in time a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I've been teaching for about a year and a half now at a local mom and pop shop, and that's one of the biggest things that I try to tell some of my newer students that are kind of breaking out of that beginner phase. It's just like, man, you don't have to sit here and we don't have to go like old school piano teacher where we're having the metronome just click back and forth. You have YouTube, you have all this stuff. Find a drum beat and just play with it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about what you're playing with it, just play with it. Or even better, if you know some kids at your local school or whatever that maybe play drums, dude, jam with these people
Yeah.
because playing in your room versus playing with a band are two completely different things,
Right.
especially for somebody that's never done the band thing,
Yeah.
you know.
I wish I had a group of guys that I could just jam. That's one thing I miss about being younger is that I had a lot more friends that we would just get together and jam.
Hmm.
And now the people that I do play with, th- they don't jam unless there's cash involved.
Sure.
Like, well, I'm not, I've got family stuff going on. I don't have time to just come over and jam. But
Yeah.
if we're gonna play a gig or something, that's fine. Let's schedule it.
Yeah.
And I miss the times where, it was just a Tuesday night and everybody came over and drank a few beers and you just jammed,
Yeah.
you know?
I will say that the guys that I'm playing with now, that's we're just writing original music, and dude, it is so much more fun.
Love that.
You
Would
know,
love it.
there
It's so
there's
much different than playing with a drum beat
right.
in Logic Pro and trying to write music. It's
Yeah.
so much different.
Yeah. And and it's not structured. Like I feel like I've been in that space for so long where it's just like, okay, here's a set list, learn the part, go play the gig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's
Mhm.
just like, hey man, I'm just gonna start messing around. I have this riff that I've kind of been goofing off with. Let's see what we can make out of it.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of get your wheels turning and everybody's listening to each other. That's the part of the magic that I love so much when everybody is just locked in and everybody's just paying attention,
Mhm.
and then you kind of get like that almost like awareness of what everybody's about to do before they do it. You can
Yeah.
anticipate that, those changes, and it's such a magical thing when it
Right.
happens.
Reminds me of like a squad of ducks or whatever, geese or whatever.
Block.
Yeah, flock. There you go. That's the word. Flock. Thank you. And like they all turn at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing when it happens.
Yeah, dude, it's so good, man. I live for that moment now. That's what, or even like playing live, and when you kind of like turn your head and you're like, "Hey, I know this solo is supposed to be done, but I'm really feeling this right now." And everybody's just like, "Oh yeah, we're going again." And dude,
Right.
that feeling where you just kind of and I will say, not to be arrogant or anything. I love playing rhythm during those parts and just
Mhm.
listening if another guitar player is just ripping something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that's just like, I'm sitting there trying to steal all his ideas now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to see where he's taking you on like a journey, right?
Yeah.
Like where's he going next?
Yeah. Dude,
You know,
I will be the first one if I see a rhythm guitar spot pop up for a fly gig or for a quick lunchtime gig, I'm all about it. Because then that's a super easy gig. I'm gonna hang out with some cool people and it's too easy. I get to hang out with probably a guitar player that is significantly better than me and just kind of watch and steal all his licks. You know what I mean? So it's a good time, man.
that would be
Uh,
fun.
so before we wrap all this up, I don't know how much you can say, but we know that a new pedal course is coming out.
Yeah.
What else is on the horizon for Wampler pedals? Maybe for this year. Like I
Sure.
said, I don't know how much you can say.
No, I mean, so NAM just happened,
Yep.
and we did have a new pedal on display there called the Ego 76. That's coming out. When is it? I think it's like March 4th or 7th or
Nice.
somewhere around there. So a month as we record this, roughly a month from now. And that's a different type of compressor. It's a FET compressor that's kind of I'm trying to get the sound of an 1176 when you record it with a guitar.
Nice. Okay.
So, and I started out backwards. I actually started, let's take an 1176 circuit and run a guitar through it, which a
Right.
lot of people have done before. And I never was really quite happy with how that turned out. Tried it myself, wasn't happy with how it turned out. So I'm like, all right, let me back up. What is it that I like about the sound of an 1176 on a guitar part? Okay. Let me create a FET style compression circuit that's going to do that thing. So that's really how I approached it.
Got
So
you.
it's
Yeah.
totally different than the normal Eagle compressor as far as like compression sounds. They
Hmm.
both compress, but if you're a compressor nut, like optical is radically different than FET. FET's radically different than OTA. So well, radically in nerd terms, right? I mean,
Well,
to the average, to a typical guitar player, like, yep, it's compression.
yeah, you're right. I got you. I got you.
But for what I was wanting, like I want glue.
Hmm.
When I want that sound of not so much like that funky compression tone, but whenever I'm running my whole guitar rig, I want it all to sound like it's glued into the music
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than dynamically distant, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. If that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah. 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 I'm
So
picking
so
up what you're putting
that's
down.
yeah, so that's really what it is. It's saucy. That's what I've been using that word lately, like writing ad copy.
That's a
It's
very
just a
good.
saucy type of compression.
That's a very good buzzword. That'll sell some compression pedals, Brian.
I hope so, because I got to eat this month.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you like compression, go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that's and then probably the multitude of other ones that are sitting on
Uh,
your.
yeah, I mean that's the next thing coming up.
Yeah, right,
After
right, right.
that, there's a bunch of things coming out. I know I have another drive based on another legendary drive
Okay.
with my own twist because
Of
I don't
course.
like to do just clone stuff. The
Yeah.
Tumnus is that's one of the few that's just a clone basically.
Hmm.
Um, what else is coming after that? We have another. Well, we did the Metaverse, which is the multi delay. We have another in that series coming out.
Nice.
I have another thing that I've been working on, and I can't even give any hints because it's something totally different. I'm
Oh, that's yeah.
smashing several different popular effects all in one unit. I've never seen anybody do this before.
Nice.
And so that's risky in the world
Yeah.
of guitar pedals because sometimes that's another, like we were talking about videos, like you think something's going to be great, and sometimes it's just a turd, sales wise. So that's up in the air. That I personally think it's going to be cool, but we'll see. The market will tell us,
Yeah, for sure.
with their wallets. So
Absolutely. Well, man, honestly, I can't I'm excited for anything you guys put out because most of the stuff you guys do put out is super rad for me at least.
well, thanks,
But
man.
yeah, not a problem at all. But hey, Brian, man, I appreciate you taking the time, dude.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, man. Had fun.
Absolutely. But for all of you guys and for Brian, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll check you guys next week on Man the Helm podcast.